I only have 168 hours a week, just like everybody else does. So I really have to manage that time well. I'm more concerned for writers than I am actors. I think you want to interview a bunch of people and figure out who you kind of connect with. I wore a stopwatch around my neck for 2 straight consecutive years, and I timed every single thing in my life. Money will come and go, but time we will never get back.
Today's guest is a business and life coach and a true force in Hollywood with over 35 years of experience making stars through his management firm, the ESI Network. As a serial entrepreneur, his latest ventures include helpandanswers.com for scaling businesses and the AIexperts.com for integrating AI into their business models. He inspires the next generation to pursue their dreams through relentless hard work and innovation. Get ready to unlock your potential with this amazing man who has mastered acting, directing, coaching, and mentoring. Welcome to the show, Nelson Paredez Parks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Linda. I appreciate being on your show here today. Thank you.
Tell me your story and what inspired your entrepreneur journey and the multiple things that you're doing. Tell us a bit about that too.
Awesome. So let me tell you, I started as a kid in Chicago, and I was touring with Second City Youth Company and performing improv. And I've traveled all over the world. I grew up in Mexico, and then I moved to Sydney, Australia, where I guess you are at now. And then I lived in the Caribbean, the Dominican Republic, and then Chicago. And when I was about 18, 19, I came out to California to go to USC and worked in casting, running a lot of sessions for a bunch of different casting directors here in town. And then I was an acting coach and taught thousands of kids and young adults as a teacher, and then started my management firm. But I've always been an entrepreneur from day one. Like when I was 16 and 17, I was always coming up with my lawn mowing business and my snow blowing business, and always starting some sort of system or structure to be able to build business. So I've never really worked much for too many people except in my teens. And then from there have always been an entrepreneur at heart. And I think the landscape is changing a lot right now. When we had the pandemic and then, the actors strike, I was forced to have to reinvent how I kind of do everything as a business model. So it's been a really interesting chapter the last couple of years. And there's been many days that I'm like, what the heck am I doing? And some great opportunities have come my way because of it as well. So it's been a very exciting time in this AI revolution that's kind of going on in the world right now.
Yeah, I know that the industry is going to be affected massively, especially with, I don't know how it's going to look. So I'm keen to get your thoughts on that because you definitely have to pivot now. And, sooner or later, like my friend who's a stunt person, he knows that his job's probably not going to be available in the future as well with AI and the technology and how fast it's becoming and growing. So now that you've pivoted, tell me a little about that and what opportunities that you see.
Well, let me kind of tell you how it came about. So one of the things that was happening, in my entertainment company, when we had so many people not working as actors, I started thinking like, well, what can I do with my time, with my staff, with my team? Because I have an amazing team of individuals that have worked with me for a while now. I started not having enough for them to do all day long. So I started thinking out of the box and just sharing, connecting with friends and saying, hey, what are you up to? Or how could I help you? Or how could you help me? One of my friends actually said, hey, will you market this book for me? And there's this book called Conflicting Loyalties. And it's a very fascinating book about a guy that was in the mob as a kid, became 18. He became a DOJ informant and helped them bring certain people down in the world that were not doing good things. So I started getting into the marketing space in books. And now I actually have a service that actually books clients to get on podcasts. So it's been a whole interesting journey that wasn't anything I was looking to get into, but it just kind of started falling into my lap. And I started getting myself on a bunch of podcasts, and friends of mine said, oh, can you help me do it? So it's like I've had opportunities just come out of the woodwork like that. And with my business coaching brand called helpandanswers.com, one of the things that I do is I help entrepreneurs scale and figure out how to get their business to that next level in their life. So I go through all 12 steps. It's a 12-week program. And we go through your time and your money and your boundaries and your spaces, and every space in your life. We'll look at like your digital space, your space at home, your space in your car. We could do a deep dive to clean up every area in your life, and we create a master business plan so that we can have systems and structures really set up in your life to optimize what you're up to with your life and your business. So I find that one thing has helped the other, and entertainment has been kind of where I got started, but now it's starting to expand into a lot of other opportunities. So it's kind of been an exciting space to launch into. And now, especially with AI, that's really changing the game in so many ways and forms.
Wow. Sounds exciting. Like entrepreneurs, we like to jump at different opportunities that come by us. But how do you balance all that as well, especially with multiple businesses and trying to focus on like the one that brings the most revenue? How do you balance all that? Are you
Well, I have
delegating?
guidelines. Yeah, I have a lot of guidelines that I have, like systems and structures in my life that help me do this. I start with making sure that like I have certain meetings that I have with myself as an entrepreneur. I have each time my power hour question hour with myself. And the Help and Answers brand really focuses on asking yourself, are you asking yourself the right questions in your life? And your life is really dictated by the questions you ask yourself or the questions you don't ask yourself in your life. So what I do each week is make sure that I have a sit down session with myself to ask myself powerful questions. Meeting number 2 is I have my CEO planner meeting. And that meeting is like where I, as a CEO, figure out what are all the moving parts of everything I'm up to. And I strategize and make sure that like the left hand is helping the right hand and vice versa. Then I'll go through my financial hour and I'll have a financial time that I look at like what income has to come in for the business that week, what bills have to get paid. So I'll make sure that financially, like I'm setting myself up to win and that everyone on my team is doing things in that area as well. Then I'll get into I call it my client fishing and mining hour. And it's like, that's where I'm like fishing for clients. And I spend time like finding new opportunities. I have spreadsheets. It'll tell me like who I need to call, who I need to follow up with. When I go to events, I have a systemized way of like networking with people and making sure they get up on my system and structure every week. Then I'll have what's called a social media hour. So at that hour is where I plan with my team, like what are we going to do in socials and every one of the domains that I'm working on right now. And someone manages that for me. But I just like have an oversight thing on like what is the messaging or the branding on each one of my brands that I'm trying to build. Then I have an organizing hour because I need to make sure that I'm making sure that my space and everything in my life is organized. And if I don't do that weekly, then my desk, the space just like really starts getting bogged down. Then I'll have my team meeting with my team to make sure we're all on our same page. And then I have what's called project hours. And project hours are those hours that I'm going to dedicate to certain actual projects that I have in my life. So again, I only have 168 hours a week, just like everybody else does. So I really have to manage that time well. And I use my phone to make sure that it's stop timing me and saying, okay, it's time to move on to the next task. Okay, now you have a next task. So I have a lot of systems and structures to make sure that I can stay on track like that. So my team keeps me on pace. My technology keeps me on pace. And then I just make sure that I have my powerful meeting types that I need to have every week to make sure that I stay on track.
Wow, that sounds incredibly organized. I like that too. Do you leverage AI to help you as well with your productivity? And if so, what tools you can't live without?
100%. Well, this is the thing. And I'll tell you a little bit about my AI journey recently in the last 6 months. So about 6 to 7 months ago, I was just asking myself saying, wow, I'm just noticing so much changing. And I saw the writing on the wall with what was going on with AI. And I called a lot of my business colleagues to ask them, like, do they use ChatGPT? And some of them were like, chat, what? What are you even talking about? They had no idea what it even was. And I was like, wow, if they're not even up to date on something like ChatGPT, like they are really out to lunch in certain areas of the business. And we need to kind of take a look at that. But again, the entertainment industry has not like embraced technology a lot of time. We were very old school in the way we do things. And that's the way a lot of the industry has worked. And I think during the pandemic and the strike, a lot of things came to a screeching halt and studios, and executives started really trying to reinvent the wheel. But a lot of the people on the agency management side really weren't using technology like that. And I think still a lot of people don't know what to do with it and they're stuck. And for people that have done their job for a certain way for 15, 20, 30 years, and they've done it the same way, it is really a hard thing to navigate. So what I decided to do is as I talked to all my friends about this AI thing, I thought, why don't I first get a website? And I found a good name called the AIexperts.com. And I started just building an informational website that's just putting information about AI and also technology and the entertainment business together a little bit, more because I didn't understand it. So really I was just building myself a tool to make sure that I keep things in order and I understand everything. And then I set up a Zoom that I had about 90 agents and casting directors and a lot of business professionals on the Zoom. And I found 5 or 6 AI experts that were the real experts because it wasn't me. I wanted to be an expert by osmosis, by like the team I surrounded myself with. And I picked their brains and I learned a lot about AI. And I had these 5 individuals talk a little bit about AI and teach all of us as entertainment people about the space. So again, this really came out of like a wanted to give back to my community sort of situation. Now we're just trying to have this informational website that just educates people about AI. I don't know what that will ultimately turn into because again, I have a lot of projects working right now, but I want to make sure I stay in the space and keep up to date with AI and its technologies. And I mean, I use a lot of the, obviously I use the basic chat GPT that everyone does currently right now. And then I have a lot of different tools that my team uses to help out with graphics, or like right now I'm writing a couple books and we're using AI and that technology as well. I have another.
What tech is that? Because I'm curious to know that book. Is it something that you can record and then voice record and then make a book out of it, transcribing? Or
No, there's just a couple different tools. I'm using a service also called AI Publishing. What that is helping me with is really creating a structure to build and have the books put together. I got another program called AI Bookle, and it's a product that like helps me just get the entire book written quickly, and then it'll even come up with the graphics for the front of the book. I'm not necessarily sold on that yet. I'm still trying to find that fine balance of like using AI to do certain elements of it, and the parts that I don't think are up to par, then I again will either hire an independent contractor or do the part that I can do myself, or someone on my team will kind of take on a certain thing. So again, I'm finding that fine line of like where to use AI and where not to. AI has been around for years, like with our phone and note recorders and so many different things that has already been around really that people use. But I think a lot of the new methodologies that AI is implementing, I mean, it's every single business is really trying to figure out like their algorithms of how they're going to stay relevant using AI in the mix. I mean, if you look at programs like Canva and all of those, they're all racing to find more effective ways to be able to handle certain things. I don't think AI is going to necessarily just replace people, but I think it will replace people that can't keep up with technology. So for example, if you're an expert in your industry, if you want to stay an expert in your industry, you better figure out how to integrate AI into what you're already doing so you can stay the expert, but also find ways to merge AI so people continue to see you as the expert, or there's going to be other people that are going to just kind of surpass what you're up to. So I think it's important to find that mix for yourself as a business owner or entrepreneur to make sure that you're getting to the next level.
yeah, I totally agree. You have to definitely jump on board or else you're going to get left behind. I wanted to hear your thoughts on the future of AI and the entertainment industry, because you've probably seen the Sora videos, how realistic the videos are when you could just type in a certain prompt and it can create this beautiful, realistic video. So what are your thoughts on the future of entertainment given the AI?
I mean, I'm more concerned for writers than I am actors. But even right now, like one of the new programs that I think my staff started using, we can record ourselves saying a video, and then a couple minutes later, you have a video of you talking and it looks like you. So we're
Hey, Jen.
still testing out. We just started testing out Hey Jen and things like that, just to see what's the most effective model to use. Like, where should we use it in our business? Where should we not use it in our business? Does that get us closer to our current client demographic? Does that push us away from our talent that we rep? So there's a lot of things to consider, and there's a lot of ethical things that we want to think about as well. As to like, I have a lot of friends that are adamantly opposed and won't use AI at all. But at the same time, I have to find that fine balance as a business owner on like what I should use it for, what I shouldn't use it for. But if I don't use it to be effective in the areas that I need to, I will be left behind. So I'm committed to not have that happen. And so I'm always reinventing the wheel and finding mentors and partners I can partner up with to continue to move the needle forward in all the initiatives that we're working on.
I like it. What I'm picking up is that you've got that mindset, a growth mindset as well, especially as an entrepreneur, you need that. Can we go through the challenges, the major challenges you've had to overcome, and like talk about those times and how you've managed to overcome those challenges, especially in your industry as well?
I mean, to keep a business as long as we've kept a business here in Hollywood for over 30 years, that's a challenge within itself. To be able
How did
to,
you do that?
I mean, I've been a very, very hard worker, and I've been a great networker, and I've always focused on the right activities, I think, which is, again, finding new clients, signing clients. Your business is only as strong as the last client that you just took on or signed. So it's important to just continue to just have a pipeline of people that you're impacting. And I think it's also about reinventing yourself. I think the people that reinvent themselves and keep trying to find new innovative ways to work on things, they're the ones that like continue moving ahead. I mean, like this book that I told you about, Conflicting Loyalties. I mean, this came to me out of just asking deeper and more powerful questions and asking a friend of mine who needed some help. And he said, would I take this project on? And again, the book space was not something I was in. But then I'm also a yes can type of person. So I'm a problem fixer. I can fix problems. I can figure out solutions to things. So I think it's that sort of mentality that you just need to have daily. And again, you're going to have days where you feel beat up. You just each day have to wake up and be like, okay, what am I impacting? How am I going to impact things to get to the next level? And work with individuals that are inspiring on a daily basis. So I think how I do it is, again, I've always had a coach, just like now I'm a business coach and I coach people. I've always had coaches that are coaching me or mentors that are mentoring me to make sure that I'm growing. If there's things I'm not seeing, they put a mirror to my face as well. So I think it's important as a coach to make sure you're coaching as well, to make sure that you're learning and growing every day.
Wow, that's inspiring. If you were to start all over again and you lost everything, what would you do to build your business back from scratch? Like, knowing what you know now, what would you do if something like a black swan event happened and the market crashed or whatever? How would you rebuild again in 2024 if you had to?
I mean, one step at a time, one phone call at a time. If I believe in something, I could probably sell anything, but it's got to be a good product. So you want to look at like, what is the product or vehicle that you're actually trying to get out there to sell? And really, it's all about relationships. So it's so important to make sure that you're just continuing to grow your relationships, because those are the people that are going to give you the other opportunities to grow your business. So I don't know that I would, if I was going to pick an industry, I mean, if I was 20 years old again and I said, okay, I'm going to do something differently, I probably would have focused a little bit more in the real estate space. And again, I've dabbled in real estate, but I think I would have added a little bit more component to that earlier on. But other than that, it's been a fun journey. Like each day, I don't really feel like I'm working. I feel like I'm creating and inventing stuff or inventing ideas. So for me, it doesn't occur like work. I mean, yes, I'm up to a lot of things and there is work to be done inside of it. And I don't love all of the parts. Just like you might not want to do your taxes every year. That's not the fun part of like what you're up to. But I think you got to remember that you're helping to impact people's lives. So again, that's why the name even Help and Answers. I'm the kind of person that's always committed to help people get better, wiser with their time and their money. I think I have a bigger vision and mission in my life. And I think that's what keeps you going. It's not, I don't get stuck on the day-to-day problem that you may have. I've always said to certain friends of mine, you know, when they have a problem, well, what would Oprah Winfrey do? Or what would Steven Spielberg do? Like if one of them had a lawsuit on their hands, this would just be a to-do list, a to-do item on their to-do list for the day, where someone might just get freaked out and be like, oh my goodness, I'm getting sued, yada, 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 yada. If you're up to big things in life, you're going to have some problems. If you make more money, you're going to have more problems. So it's about not looking at the problem. It's looking at the solution. It's looking at the opportunity. So I think that's what I'm committed to always do is like, what is the opportunity of this challenge? What is the opportunity of this situation? What is it that I'm not seeing? Because again, that helps you grow. So growth mindset and continuing to educate yourself is so vital. That's why for me, I always say, if you want to get to the Olympics, you're going to have a coach. So coaching is for everybody. Everyone that wants to get better at whatever they want to get better at should have some sort of coach. I recently took on a coach that's coaching me in the health arena. And that is one area I have always battled in my life, like staying in shape. And so finally, I'm over 50 now. And I thought I better just get a coach in that arena that just gets on my case and helps me get to that next level of my health that I need to focus more on in my life. So I think you got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, okay, in what areas do I need coaching? With my time, with my money, with my boundaries, with my health, what are you needing support with? And finding someone that could really help you achieve and get to that next level of maybe those blind spots that you're not maybe seeing right now.
It's funny to say that you mentioned coaching because like during this podcast that I've started, there's been a lot of coaches coming on and I thought, oh my gosh, there's so many coaches out there. I've found some great ones and I've interviewed some great ones, but how do you find a great coach? What are some tips to be able to find a great coach? And I've heard people waste money on coaches as well. Like one of my other guests wasted $100,000 on a business coach that can't remember what coach, but it didn't do anything for her. So what are your thoughts on that, and any tips to find a great coach?
I mean, I think you want to interview a bunch of people and figure out who you kind of connect with. And I think you want to look at your goals. Look at your goals as to what do you want to get from the coach, and write that down on a list so you're really clear as to what it is that you're wanting to get from that sort of experience. The coaching that we do here at Help and Answers, it's a little bit more very practical in the sense that I have over 70 different helpful forms and sheets that outline every area of your life. Because I know that with systems and structures, look at McDonald's. McDonald's has been so successful because the systems and structures that just are repeatable over and over and over again. So one of the things that I've believed in is that, again, every company in America has a business plan. So my thought is like, well, if every company has a business plan, then so should you. You should have your own business plan that like is really articulating what your mission, what your vision, what you're really up to. And if you're not spending time kind of doing that with yourself and or with a coach, you're going to miss the mark for like what your true calling is in life and your business. So I think it's about talking to numerous coaches, figuring out like who you feel like you really connect with, and finding out like what are the things that they're really going to help you with, and asking powerful questions. So again, like as I was saying before, it's the kind of questions you ask yourself in your life or not ask yourself in your life that are going to have you have the kind of life that you have. So ask those deep questions of yourself and ask yourself, what sort of coach do you need to go next level in your life, and seek those sort of coaches out. Right now, I'm working on a bunch of book projects. I have my brand Kids on TV coming out in about 3 months. And I'm writing a series of how-to books of how to get into the entertainment business for parents, because I've been an expert in the kids entertainment market for years. So I am also now bringing on a coach that's going to be coaching me in like how to make sure that I've like built the books the right way. I'm looking at everything that I maybe don't know how to do in the book space, and having a coach me in that area. So ask yourself, what projects are you up to in your life? And then get some sort of coach that can help you with that.
Wow. You mentioned the kids' entertainment because that's what your expertise is. Can you give some tips on that? And what are your thoughts? Because, like, given social media these days and kids going viral and whatnot, A, is TV relevant? And B, is that wise? Is it detrimental to their health going into TV stardom at a young age? Because you hear the stories about kids, celebrities starting off young, and then they get all messed up. Hollywood messes them up, and then they just turn out all drugged up and suicidal or depressed. What are your thoughts on that?
We don't have a lot of those sort of clients on our roster because, again, we have like a lot of boundaries that we instill. And I put my parents through a 12-step program kind of thing. They come to a one evening thing where they really learn the backside of the business. We pretend that the parent is the casting director, so they actually learn the process. But I think it has to do more with the parents that have good boundaries, that like have conversations with their kids about the process. Those kids do great. And it's really the parents that want their kids to be famous that screw their kids up. The parents that want their kids to make all this money. So I think it's more about looking at the parent in the matter 90% of the time. And also it's teaching your kids not to be impressed easily with money or with status or with fame. It happens early on as an actor. When you're on set and everyone just starts bringing you stuff, you start becoming entitled, and suddenly it feels good at first. Like everyone's kind of serving you hand and foot. But I will say to my talent, if someone comes up to you on set and offers you a glass of water, if you can get your own butt off your chair and walk across to the other side of the room to get the water yourself, then do that. Don't let people serve you all your life. Because it slowly happens, and you let people serve you, and then you sign on with agents or managers that like are yes men, or they just tell you yes to everything. They just want to make you happy. That's not serving you. Like, even though that they're helping you get you jobs, they're not in it to really help you then. So you want to look at like, who is the type of individual that's even representing you as a manager or an agent, and what are their objectives? Are they truly trying to help you, for a longevity with career? Or are they just trying to make a quick buck on you? And again, those people are only in it for the money, and you should be careful with who you allow to work with you in the representation field. So I think it all depends on like how you live your life. I would say boundaries. But I think not just for entertainment, that's for any industry. If you're going to be successful, you have to learn how to say no over and over and over again. And you need to say yeses to the things you need to say yes to, but you need to say more no's along the way as you get more and more successful. You have to check yourself and be like, is this really a wise thing for me? Back to why it's so important to ask ourselves daily questions that you put a mirror to your face each day to really try to get to the answers from.
Wow. And let's say if you're trying to build your brand, because you've got all that experience in building brands for kids as well, how about building brand as an adult, as a thought leader in the entrepreneurial space or the corporate space? What are your thoughts and tips on that? Because building a brand these days, especially the people I follow, like Alex Hormozi and Layla Hormozi, Ed Milet, they're all building their brand on multiple different platforms. They're thought leaders, and they're all across LinkedIn as well, doing posts. What are your thoughts on that? Any tips that you can give as well for building your brand as a thought leader?
I think to start with, you want to look at like who you are as a person, set up the guidelines and rules of what you're up to or what your vision or what your mission is so you stay on track. So I think it's important to do that to start with so that you can not get off point and off brand. Like when you're getting busy or getting successful and moving up the ladder, you can always continue going back to kind of like your mini Bible for yourself. So you have like a place that you're keeping the rules in place. That's why for us at Help and Answers, we really focus on helping clients build a wise business plan for themselves. So they actually have a plan. So I think that the leaders that do that well, and they're consistent, because it's truly about action each day. I think in any industry, the number one common denominator in all my friends that are successful is they just know how to get stuff done. So if you focus on just getting stuff done and then what's the next step? And then what's the next step? And then what's the next step? And then you repeat it and you do it over and over and over and over and over again. That's what it takes. And then you get wisdom by mentors and coaches that help you figure out how to do it wiser, smarter, faster, or more effectively. And that's part of what you got to do to continue moving forward in your life as an entrepreneur in whatever industry you're in.
I like that. And you mentioned the people that are successful and getting things done, but I was reading a book, I'm still reading it now, Dan Martell's Buy Back Your Time. And it's very interesting too, because successful people have the same amount of time in their day as every ordinary person, but it's the way they delegate their tasks. And I'm guessing because you have multiple businesses, you must have a great team behind you. So do you have any tips and advice? Because I'm still learning this myself. And sometimes I realizing through self-awareness that I'm doing some of the admin tasks that should be delegated to my team. So there's a quadrant he's written in his book about certain things, like I won't spoil it for everyone, but delegating certain tasks and focusing on the ones that generate revenue. What are your thoughts on that? And how did you build your team to do the same thing, to be able to do multiple business ventures?
I mean, I think it's about understanding the quadrants a little bit that you're talking about and the distinction between working in your business versus working on your business. So it's asking those questions. Is this true activity going to make an impact in the results and in the financial part of things? And that's why, like, when I have my list of all the hours that I have in my life, there's certain tasks that like make an impact. So I focus on those. So again, my client fishing hour, that's every week. I need to fish. I need to fish. I need to meet a new client. I need to meet another potential client. So it's like you can spend your time shuffling papers on your desk left to right, but that leaves you frustrated. It leaves you not getting to the next level. So you have to figure out how to use your time in the most effective ways. And so again, a lot of that is trial and error a little bit and setting up guidelines for yourself. And I use my phone all day long to time myself with certain activities. I used to 2 years ago, I wore a stopwatch around my neck for 2 straight consecutive years. And I timed every single thing in my life because I wanted to master every minutia of what I did. It takes me this long to walk 1 city block. It takes me this long to eat breakfast. It takes me this long to take a shower. So I wanted to understand like what I did with my time. And as I learned how to do that, I got very effective and very efficient with my time so that I knew how I could use my time. Again, money will come and go, but time we will never get back. So if you haven't mastered how to help yourself with your time, that's the one gift. Like if you can pass on a gift of like teaching someone to manage their time effectively, there's no better gift. So that's one of the things that I really love helping people when we do this 1 week that goes over their 168 hours of their week. We really want to master how to do that and then figure out what are those repeatable things that you keep doing that really are time wasters and time suckers that you really got to get out of your life. And then we figured out the systems and structures of what you do want to keep in your life. But again, you got to master your time. That's like step number one.
I do agree. And it just being outside of that perspective as well, and like self-awareness is one thing, but just I like the fact that you're so organized, and it sounds like you OCD in your time, which is great because you've learned to master that effectively as well. And then being able to delegate and handing off tasks as well. So I've just recently given somebody that started off as a junior editor, I've given her more control now of the process. As I bring in more editors, I don't have time they ask for my approvals on all the creatives, and it's like, this is just taking up too much time. So I've given her the lead now and let her take control. And so she's got more responsibilities, but it's freeing up some of my time as well, so I can focus on other tasks that are just going to bring me more clients, more guests. And so I can focus on the things that you love and that bring in more revenue.
You got to be good at learning to delegate. You got to give the stuff away. You got to say, okay, when you first start with an employee, obviously you want to teach them the systems and structures that are important to your business. But after that, you want to let them fly. You want to let them thrive. You want to not hover over them, and like that's not going to empower them. And from time to time, you got to step back in and be like, okay, let's finesse this. Let's do this a little this way, a little that way. So I think as a business owner, you want to find that fine balance of how you do that, like a dance.
Tell me, who's been your biggest inspiration, or do you have book recommendations? Someone that's helped you like make a huge impact?
It's been so many different things. I've done so many classes myself over the years as well. I obviously did things like the Tony Robbins thing. I did the Millionaire Mindset with T. Harv Eckert and went to Warrior Camp, and that was an amazing experience. And then I did an education called Landmark Education. And I've always been taking classes and working with different mentors and coaches. I think for me, it's like a lifestyle. It's a thing about learning. It's about continuing to read more and more. This year, I've been focusing a lot on the 1% habits that like make an impact, and shifting just a task or a thing by 1%. And if you do that daily and compound that daily, like how that impacts your life. So I think that concept this year I've really tried to take on. And that's been a very eye-opening thing to make sure that I can incrementally make a difference in my life on a weekly, monthly basis. I've read books like the Robert Kiyosaki books, all about finances, and that's definitely had me think differently. The Four Agreements, that's a book that I think I've always enjoyed. And a lot of the classics that is on every coach's list as well. I've read most of them over the years. And now, since I drive a little bit more, living in the valley from where my office is, each day I'm making sure that I'm listening to another program or podcast or something that just keeps me learning while I'm driving. So I'm trying to be very effective with all my drive time, because I drive at least 8 to 10 hours a week. So whenever I'm in the car, I'm learning some new thing, some new skills in between phone calls. I think that's an important thing to take on lifestyle wise.
Yeah, I totally agree. I do the same when I'm driving. I just love every opportunity that I get to learn. I'll keep learning, either through YouTube or through podcasts or through books. So I think that definitely it's a great way of self-development and growing as well, and being fulfilled. How would you personally define success?
I would define success as learning how to balance your life in a lot of different ways so that you can work hard but play hard as well. I've traveled the world extensively and seen lots of amazing situations in my travels. I've been to India and Africa and Europe, and spent lots of time like going to Mexico because I have a beautiful hacienda there that I take as a retreat center. Over the pandemic, my family had this house in our family for over 125 years. And I said to my father during the pandemic, let's do something with it so more people can enjoy it. So I went down and revamped a lot of stuff and created a beautiful Airbnb way up in the mountains in the middle of nowhere. It's called Casa Zacafe, in a small, beautiful town, a magical place. As an American, you think of Mexico and you think of Cabo, or you think of Puerto Vallarta or a beach thing. This is totally different. Fly to Mexico City, I have a car service pick you up. You go an hour drive and you go to the pyramids and you explore the pyramids that have been around for years and centuries. And then we go to dinner in a cave and experience that. And then we head up a 2-hour car drive way up in the mountains, and you live in this magical town, and the gardens in the center, and the house goes all around it. And in the morning you go to the chicken coop and you collect the eggs and have breakfast made for you with like homegrown eggs. So it's a lovely, just relaxing getaway experience. And so I do things like that where it feeds my soul, where my grandmother, I visit her every year growing up. So it's important to balance your life with like passion projects also, of things that, like any situation, I just try to find ways to monetize it, but also have fun along the journey. So for me, it's just about having fun with the projects that I'm up to.
I like it. That sounds beautiful.
Mhm.
Definitely something I'd love to check out. What excites you most about the future?
I'm so excited about like what we're up to, like with helping people answer questions for themselves. There's a lot going on in the world right now, and there's a lot of people going through a lot of pain. So for me, I just love to see more smiles on people's faces. I love to impact and make a difference. So I'm just excited to keep doing the same vision that I've been doing and help more people. So I'm excited about figuring out ways, systems, and structures to be able to get some of these messages out to more people so that more people can have a better lifestyle, a better return in their life for their investment. Education is so key. A lot of our schooling systems don't necessarily educate kids. Like I wish as a kid, I would have like taken the classes that taught me about like credit cards and interest rates and things like that, that like a lot of our traditional schooling system doesn't necessarily integrate. And so for me, it's like with my talent and youth, I want people to be critical thinkers. I want people to reinvent and look at the glass half full. This cup here, it actually says on this cup, always half full. And it's like when I look at this cup, it's like when you pour water in this cup, the water is going to overflow after this edge, obviously. And so if you don't leave enough room in your cup to be able to have enough time in your life or have enough space financially, like you're going to be in crisis mode all your life. So it's important to make sure that like you always have enough space in your cup, but it's always important to continue to grow your cup so that you have the capacity to do what's next in your life. So that's why education is so important. You have to continue growing yourself, learning more and more and more every day so that like you can truly make an impact. If you're always at capacity, then you can't help the people that you're really wanting to help in your life. So it's making sure that your cup is half full, but that you're always continuing to grow it as well.
Very inspiring. Do you do any daily rituals to help you? I know you do a lot of self-learning and education, self-development, but do you do anything that you can't live without, like exercise or
Well, I
meditation?
start my day in a certain way, in the respect that when I wake up, I'll go outside, I'll do some stretches, I'll do a 10-minute walk to start with, and I kind of talking to myself, praying and listening to like what it is that I'm really going to be up to that day, and also releasing any negative thoughts of anything anyone spoke to me or said to me that like really got me down or frustrated, and just let it go. And so I release that so that I don't keep my day in negativity from the previous day. And it's just a good way to just let go of things. And then I'll do some stretches and have some bands that my trainer recently told me he wanted me to start using. So the last month, every day I'm using these like workout bands that help me. Then I'll go back and have some quiet time with myself, read, have breakfast, get my daughter ready for school. Then I'm off to the races to go to what I'm up to that day. So I would say I have between a 30-minute to an hour ritual to kind of start the day. And then again, when I'm in the car, I'm just listening to good stuff to make sure that I'm like on my A game for the day.
Nice. This has been a very inspiring conversation and I really enjoyed it. Guys, if you found this helpful, please do me a favor and hit the like and subscribe button. And if you're listening on the podcast, please hit the follow button. It does help the channel. Finally, where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
Again, my name is Nelson Paredez Parks. So on Instagram, you can just find me at Nelson Paredez Parks, Paredez Parks. And then what I'd love anyone to do is follow me on my website, helpandanswers.com, and go ahead and leave me a message that way and we'll connect with you. And if you give me your email address, we'll put you on our list to make sure that we're sending you inspiring information and sheets that could help you implement effective and wise structures to help you move your life forward in every area in your life.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
Thanks, Linda.